I'm Dr. Chad Sloden from Sports and Family Chiropractic, serve in southeastern Wisconsin. Here we specialize in sports injuries, work injuries, and auto accidents. I'm here with Nick. Nick's a patient of ours. He is an avid hockey player and sports enthusiast. He plays goalie, more of a weekend warrior nowadays than actually playing collegiately or in high school. He did that in the past. So he comes in. He's got a lot of upper shoulder and neck tightness as a result of what he does being a goalie, raising repetitive type motion, things of that nature, as well as some issues down the biomechanical chain into the mid-back and into the lower back and hip as well. We've checked Nick out already. We know what's going on. We know where the restrictions are, where the muscle tightness is, where the knots are at, where the weakness is at, things like that. So what we're going to show you guys today is how we go through and we address this. Okay, from a treatment standpoint, from a muscle rehab standpoint, and then from an exercise standpoint as well. So we're going to take you sort of through a whole treatment of what we do here at Sports and Family. I'll have you take a seat on the table here for me, Nick. So the first thing we're doing is we're just looking for any imbalances between left and right, up and down, side to side. We know that he has some issues going on at the CT junction. The CT junction is the area of the spine where the cervical spine or the neck meets the thoracic spine or the mid-back. It's a common area of issue because you're going from an area that has all the movement in the world in the neck to an area that's sort of stiff and dead in the mid-back. There's not a whole lot of movement there because of your rib cage. So he's got an imbalance there. Even looking at his shoulder side to side, you can see that his left shoulder is slightly higher than his right. Again, as a result of what he's doing day to day, both at home, at work, and from a recreational standpoint. So those are some things that we'll address today, is trying to get that shoulder leveled out and take care of some of those joint restrictions that happen to lie through there. Go ahead and just turn your head down and over to the side. Good. And back up, down, over to the other side. Good. And just by doing that, you can see that things are moving a little bit different from left to right, even though we're doing the same motion on both sides. Because of the dysfunction, the biomechanical dysfunction that's going through in the neck, you can see that his left side's a little bit more locked up. Outside of that, we're going to start doing a little treatment here. So the first technique we're going to start with is just a muscle release technique. This makes the adjustment itself a little bit easier. So again, with this, we want to bring this arm up. I'm going to make a contact on his muscles. When I tell you to, we're going to bring that arm down and across your chest, sort of like Popeye, okay? Go ahead and bring that down and across. Good. And back up. Down and across. Good. Down and across. We do this about 4 or 5 times just to loosen up the muscles, and then in turn it makes the adjustment itself a little bit easier. Good. And last one. Down and across. Good. The next we're going to do is for the rhomboid muscles here. The rhomboids are the muscles that help stabilize and support the shoulder blades. We see a lot of issues with those because of the nature of our society today. We have our shoulders rolled forward quite a bit. As a result of that, these muscles in the back get locked long and the muscles in the front get locked short. So we put an emphasis on getting these muscles to release and then stretching out the anterior compartment of the shoulders and the upper chest. So this one we're going to go thumbs up, like you're hitchhiking, go down, and then you're going to turn your thumb all the way down and across like that. So again, give me about 4 or 5 of those. Go ahead. 1. Okay. 2. Good. 3. Good. 2 more. Good. And last one. Good. All the way down. Good. Again, same sort of premise, trying to loosen up the musculature that supports this area of the spine and the rib heads and things like that. So next what we'll do is we'll start the adjustment process. So I'm going to have you go face down for me here, please. So his big issues are, like we said, that CT junction. That's where the cervical spine comes down and meets the thoracic spine. A lot of people, always say, "Oh, if you have this bump here, I have this bump that's at the base of my neck," and that's actually supposed to be there. It's called your vertebral prominens. It's a joint that allows for the rotation of the neck, but not so much the rotation of the mid-back or the thoracic spine. It's restricted in a lot of individuals, and like I said, there's a lot of musculature that crosses this area up into the neck and shoulder because it's all one big biomechanical unit. We're going to do one more active release on what now that I have him laying down, I can feel that. You feel that in there, Nick?
Yep.
Yeah. So we have a muscle here called the supraspinatus muscle. The supraspinatus muscle is one of the rotator cuff muscles. It's designed to bring your arm from 0 to about 60 or 70 degrees. So we're going to do another release technique on there to try to loosen this up a little bit before we get him adjusted. So with this, you're going to put your hand up over your head like you're Superman. I'm going to make a contact on that muscle, and I'm going to have you tuck this hand all the way behind your back like I'm putting you in, or arresting you, okay? I know you're familiar with that, so. All right, we'll go here. Okay, go ahead and bring that down behind your back. Good. And relax. How does that feel?
Tight.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Good. Give me 3 more. Okay. Good pace. Big thing with this is you want to make sure you're not going too fast. Some people turn into a dance move where they're trying to do the floss or something like that, move their hands too fast, and it's just not effective like that. Good. All the way. Good. And relax. Good. So as we do that, it feels a little bit easier each time we do it, right?
Yep.
Good. Okay. So you can already feel that the muscle's released a little bit, which again is just going to make the adjustment easier on both of us. Okay, so the first area we're going to adjust on Nick is his rib articulations. We call it your costovertebral joints. That's where your rib cage actually wraps around and inserts onto your spine. They sit in shallow little facet joints where the actual bones and the ribs articulate, and every now and then they can get pulled or rotated out of position, and you can feel that all through there. You feel that up through there?
Yep.
Where a couple of his rib heads are actually sort of slightly crested posteriorly or backwards. So my job is going to go in and adjust those and sort of put those back to where they should be. I have to warn you, when we adjust the ribs, it's not the most pleasant of adjustments, but it's worth it. It's one of those things, no pain, no gain. We gotta do it, and you get almost instant relief with that. So when we do this, you're gonna hear some noise. You know, people call it popping, cracking. To me, when we adjust the ribs, it sounds like we're snapping a tree branch, but that just means that we're getting good movement and we're releasing the pressure and the gases that have built up in those joints. That's what an adjustment does. The primary function of the adjustment is to not only restore proper motion or proper biomechanics back into a joint, reposition that joint to where it should be, but it's also relieving any pressure or gas that builds up in the joint. It's common for all of us because of the nature of what we do every day, the effects of gravity, etc., etc. The analogy that I like to give patients is that it's like popping the top on a can of soda, right? If a can of soda is shooken up, it becomes very hard, very pressurized, very tough to manipulate and mobilize. But the minute you pop the top on that can of soda, you get instant relief of pressure, you can crush the can, you can do whatever you want with it. So in a sense, that's what we're going to be doing to your joints here. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions before we do this?
Nope.
Okay. So for this, I'm going to have you tuck your left hand underneath your thigh. I'm going to jump over here, so we're going to come on to where the rib heads articulate with the actual spine or vertebral bodies. They articulate with little structures that we call transverse processes. And transverse process is sort of the wings of your vertebra. Okay? So here we go. We're going to make that contact. When I do that, I'm going to have you take a deep breath in, all the way out, all the way out. Good. Good. So you get an instant relief like that. Sorry, I had to sort of light you up like a Christmas tree, but that's just part of it. Yeah, bring that arm back down. We're going to come over and do the other side just because there's a compensatory effect where I know all of his problems are dominating here on the left side, but that means a lot of times that the right side has to do a little bit more work. It's like a tug of war between side to sides, right? Ideally, we'd like to have things balanced from left to right and up and down, but it's rarely the case because we're all one side dominant and we do repetitive motions day in, day out. Okay, so I'm going to have you tuck this right hand for me there. Same thing here. We're probably not going to get as much movement or cavitation on this side, but that's okay. Same thing, deep breath in. Let it out, let it out. Good. Okay, so let's just recheck those ribs. Go ahead and bring this arm out to your side for me. And down. And out. And down. Okay, how does that feel?
Good.
Good. You can already feel that those muscles are starting to melt a little bit, which is good. I can actually get in and move those muscles around. Okay, the next area of the spine we're going to adjust is the thoracic spine. Thoracic spine is just your mid-back. Okay, we get a lot of restrictions to this area just because usually it's postural, meaning in our society our chins tend to jet out over our shoulders, and that puts excess strain on this area of the spine and the musculature in this area. So what we're going to do is go through and just manipulate these areas in here. I'm sure you can feel that sort of in there, huh? That restriction, yep. And same thing there. So you should have a little bit of bounce in the spine. In yours, in here, it sort of feels like a brick, or I'm pushing the cement there as well. Here, you're pretty good. Here, needs work. Here, needs work. And we know up here already needs work. So, okay. So this same thing, I'm going to have you take a deep breath in. You're going to feel my weight come on you here. Good. See it. I don't even have to do anything. And blow on you. Good. Okay, so great movement there. How does that feel?
Good.
Good. Okay. The next area we're going to adjust on you is that CT junction I keep talking about. That's where the neck or the cervical spine comes up and actually meets the thoracic spine. Okay. This adjustment can be a little forceful. That's because it has to be. We're going from an area in your neck that has all the movement in the world to an area in your thoracic spine that really doesn't move a whole lot. And so in order to get movement and manipulate this joint as to where it needs to be, sometimes we've got to be a little bit aggressive. So with that, you're going to feel me contact it here. And maybe turn your head to this side for me. Good. And just relax. Good. Feel okay?
Yep.
We're going to come around and do it on the other side. This is my weak side, so it may not be as forceful as the other side. Same thing, turn your head over to the right for me. It doesn't require as much, so it's pretty easy. Good. And again, just trying to restore some movement in there, and you'll feel all this when we get up and have you start moving around a little bit. Okay, next area we're going to take a look at is your low back. I know your low back isn't your primary issue, but carrying that down into that hip, it's just one of those things that we don't want to leave untouched. So here is checking the level of your pelvis. Left pelvis is slightly up. What that means is your pelvis is slightly rotated or shifted. Okay, it's not uncommon. We see that in just about everyone. It's pretty rare we see someone that has a perfectly level pelvis or a pelvis that isn't rotated. Good. Relax. So there we can see feet are pretty good. Come down here, you get a little bit of difference. And again, because your rotation here isn't so bad, I don't expect to see a great difference in your leg length. Again, nothing that we have to be overly concerned about, just something that we want to address. And this too can contribute to what's going on in the front of your hip, that hip flexor tightness. Okay, so we'll address that here in a little bit. But the first thing we're going to do is just put a little movement in the SI joint. So here it is, testing the waters, making sure things aren't too hard for you here. Does that feel okay? Okay. So you can get 3 thrusts here, right over that SI joint. Good. So now we're just going to recheck. And now you can see that your pelvis is actually on your left side is slightly lower. So that's fine. It was high before, now it's low. Feet are good. Feet are still good. So no issues there. That should help. We'll do a little bit of a release technique on that hip flexor. There's not a specific adjustment that we can do for the hip flexor, but because it's a muscle, there's some things that we can do with that. Okay, last, let's have you flip over on your back. We'll check out your neck for you. So now we're going to check out the neck or the cervical spine. You know, your head is obviously, your neck is obviously what allows your head to turn side to side, flex forward and back. What we're looking for here is any swelling capsules or any restriction in movement, and you can feel that there. That's sort of blocked quite a bit.
Yep.
Right side not so bad, a little bit there. Any history of headaches or anything like that?
No.
Good. So he got a little bit of a restriction at second cervical vertebra, C2, C3 on the left. We can tell that that capsule there is swollen. A lot of times if you run your hands over your own neck, you can feel, oh yeah, that's a sense. It feels like I have a ball or a knot there. It can be muscular related. A lot of times the actual joint capsule itself is a little bit of swollen. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to go through, like I said, we're going to pop the top on that can of soda.
Okay.
Yeah. So with this, it's going to be a little louder than what you heard with the other adjustments, just because the cervical spine is closer to your ears. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to be scared about or worried about. It's part of the process. Some people say it sounds just like Rice Krispies, or personally I think it sounds like a tree branch is breaking. But all right, so the first area we're going to adjust is C2, C3 here on your left side. Just try to relax the best you can. Wiggle your toes a little bit. Good. There's not a whole lot going on your right side. You have no real swelling capsules. I can feel a little bit of restriction in that area of the spine. But from a capsule standpoint, it feels pretty good. So, same thing here. Now we're just going to traction you, make you a little bit taller. Probably feel this all the way down the low back, huh?
Yeah, it feels good.
The spine is a column, right? You have bones stacked on the top of discs, bones stacked on top of discs. And so what we're doing here is just depressurizing all those. You think of your discs like donuts, right? Jelly-filled donuts. That's what they are. They're a harder material with a softer jelly on the inside. So they're designed to squish or absorb shock, but when you're standing on them or sitting on them or whatever you're doing all day long, the effects of gravity take in. And so simply what we're doing is just decompressing that spine a little bit. Good. Okay, the next one we're going to do is a decompression adjustment. Okay, you're going to feel me sort of come under the base of your skull, and then one of my hands is going to come around onto your chin. I want you to clench your teeth very lightly with this adjustment, not hard on anything. You know, I don't want you, grinding your teeth together like you're upset or angry. Just real passive, just light adjustment like that. Okay, you're going to feel this one all the way down into your low back as well. Again, just relax. Same thing the other way there. Clench just lightly for me. Feel okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So now we're just rechecking your movement. Remember that swelling that we felt right there?
Yeah.
The swelling capsule is completely gone, right? Yeah, I don't feel it anymore at all. How's that feel? Okay?
Good. Better.
Good. Okay. Alright, so the other area we're going to adjust is that low back again. The first adjustment we did with where the table dropped out from underneath you, that was designed to put some movement into your SI joints. The next adjustment we do is actually going to move the lumbar spine, and that's the part of your spine between your thoracic spine and your mid-back and your tailbone of your pelvis. Okay? But because of your hip flexor issue, I'm going to do a little bit of a release on that hip flexor first. Okay? So I need your left hip flexor up. So lay with your right side down. We'll face that way. Yeah. So with this technique, I'm going to go through and I'm going to contact directly on that hip flexor, and I'm going to have you extend this leg back. I call it like a donkey kick or a horse kick, like you're trying to kick back or kick something behind you. Okay. So go ahead and extend back. Good. How's that feel?
It hurts.
Yeah. Good. It's a sensitive area regardless, just because where it is, but because we all sit all day, and the vast majority of us have tight hip flexors and tight psoas muscles. So good. Give me 3 more. Good. You okay?
Yep.
Just breathe through it. Like you're going into labor. Not that you know anything about that.
No.
And last one. I say that because my wife and I just had a baby last week. Good. Last one. Good. Okay. Go ahead and lay on your back for me for 1 second. So we're going to do sort of the same thing, same type of technique, just a different release because we're going to get up into the abdomen a little bit. The hip flexor muscle runs from the crest of your the iliopsoas muscle runs from the inside of your pelvis all the way down the front of your thigh and into your quad. Okay, so what we want you to do is I'm going to make a contact here and you're going to extend that leg out like that. Okay? Again, another sensitive area. Go ahead. Good. So you can feel that there's your iliac crest. And the muscle inserts on the back side or the underside of that. Good. 3 more. Good. And the reason this muscle can affect the low back is because it also inserts on the lower vertebral bodies, or vertebral transverse processes of the vertebral bodies. One more for me. Of the lumbar spine. So, good. Okay. So I'll show you some stretches and exercises you can do for that in a minute, okay? We're going to adjust the low back here. So go ahead and lay on you can face me this way. So now we're going to put a little motion into your lumbar spine. Same sort of premise as we did before. You're going to feel me contact on your skin and try to get a little bit of rotation and release in those vertebral bodies. And all the way out, keep breathing, keep breathing. Ooh, good. That'll feel okay, right?
Yeah, that was good.
All right, we're going to do the same thing over here. All right, give me one more deep breath all the way out. Good. Okay, go ahead and lay back on your back for me there. We're just going to let things settle in. Just stretch these out quick. I'm going to do 2 more adjustments and then I'll show you some exercises, okay? Any questions at this point? Good.
Just be careful of that one knee.
Yep. Just going to adjust your feet and ankle here. Good. Okay, come on up for me there. How's that feel up through there?
Very good. Very loose.
So big thing for you when we're working out or at the gym is try to work on strengthening these muscles, okay? I'm going to show you a couple stretches and a couple exercises you can do here to help sort of keep these shortened and keep these a little bit longer. Some of them involve a doorway, some of them involve a foam roll. Let me grab the half foam roll. We'll just do it in here today just for the purpose of, this isn't something that lasts forever. You know, the half of what is what I do, half is what you do. So it'll take time to correct this, but if you're diligent about what you do at home and you continue to see us for the things we do, I think it's a matter of time before you're back and do it feeling how you were 20 years ago. I mean, not that long, 15 years ago. This is Dr. Chad, Sports and Family Chiropractic. We specialize in sports injuries, work injuries, and car accidents. Dr. Nick, another satisfied patient. We do things a little bit different here. It's not just the adjustment and send you on your way. We address all areas of issue, like you saw today. So, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And we will see you soon.
Thanks.